Hello.
Right.
Yeah, thanks, Kim. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. I'm Ashley Sklar. I'm the Adult Services and Community Engagement Consultant with the Connecticut State Library, Division of Library Development, and myself, along with my fantastic colleague and partner in this work, and so much other work too, Kimberly Poe, our Children and Young Adult Consultant. We are both very excited to have you here at this information session for our brand new Growing Equitable Library Services grant. As an initiative of DLD, this project is funded by the state of Connecticut and the Institute of Museum and Library Services under the provisions of the Library Services and Technology Act and administered by us at the Connecticut State Library. Kim covered all the housekeeping things for you, so hopefully you are set with captions. You know we're recording, and please use the chat. So with that, oh, one other thing, we always follow up with an evaluation and a survey, so you will get that from us. But after all of that, let's get started. So first up, what is GELS? If you're here, hopefully you can answer this right along with me. GELS, or Growing Equitable Library Services, is about 3.5 years old or young, depends. And it is a workshop series that strives to provide the trainings to help libraries become strength-based, trauma-informed, anti-racist, social, and emotionally conscious community institutions. There's a lot in there, but it is all important. So all of the training sessions that we do in GELS, they offer lots of opportunities for Connecticut library workers to educate themselves and impact their institutions on the experiences and needs of various community groups. Hopefully, if you've been to some or many of these, this is all sounding familiar. So what are the things that we've covered in GELS? Some examples. We've covered family homelessness in Connecticut libraries. We have a whole section on community connections, and within there, we've done community asset mapping. We did a whole four-part series on community-led libraries. Those recordings are in there for you. We did about a 6-month series called ADA and Beyond, of course, about the Americans with Disabilities Act. We had a lot of different topics in there: digital accessibility, accessible library programs, inclusive story times. We did an assistive technology petting zoo as a part of that. So there's lots of resources on that page for you. Trauma-informed services has made a couple of appearances. We did do a series kind of during the pandemic. And then we did a more recent series that concluded last spring. And the recent series, those recordings are on the LibGuide. There's lots of good stuff in there. We have also covered racial equity. We've covered elections. We've talked about citizenship and immigration. We had the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services with us for that series. There's lots of resources on that topic. Let's see, we have covered the LGBTQ plus community and what library services look like. We had a local presenter for that from Prism Counseling, an amazing series. Again, there's lots of resources on the LibGuides for you. I'm sure Kim is dropping links in the chat. I can't see the chat at the moment, but hopefully you all know where the LibGuide is, and if not, we will be showing you. And then last, we've covered data for equity. So we've had Data Haven come. They have had issued 2 reports called the Connecticut Town Equity Reports. And most recently, there was a 2023 release of that report. There's lots of good data in there. It's great for grant writing, among other things. So we strongly encourage you to explore that. And as anyone knows who's engaged in kind of living and working in a more equitably oriented way, the learning never ends. This is life work. It's work that we are always doing. And so we have resources for you, lots of them. So on the GELS LibGuide, you'll find a smattering of them. Some of these we offer through the Connecticut State Library. Some of them we've just come across in our own learnings and explorations. And we, of course, want to share them with you. So there's online trainings, there's books that we have at the Middletown Library Service Center, there's podcasts, there's blogs, there's other state organizations engaged in this work, videos, and lots of other resources. So we always encourage you to explore this page. I keep coming back to this page myself. Sometimes it's to add a new resource that I've found, but sometimes it's to watch something that maybe I haven't had a chance to catch up on yet. So keep an eye on that page. Kim and I both are constantly adding to it. So with that, now that you have the foundation of what the GELS grant is, or GELS is, Kim is going to tell you about the grant.
Yes, and I just dropped the link in the chat because the migration of, or the duality of flicking the slides and dropping the links. It was a journey, but there it is. Everything kind of like lives in one space. Ashley and I try to be really conscious and cognizant of how we share information for readability and discoverability. So Ashley's gone a bit over GELS. What is the GELS grant and why did we bother? So we're going to start with the people who can apply for this. This comes up often when we talk about grants and other initiatives, but this is a grant that can be given to, or the folks who can apply for this are principal public libraries. We do have information on what a principal public library is in our on our LibGuides, predominantly shared in our new director's handbook because they're kind of the folks that need that information the most. But essentially, like every town has one. Every town has, except for 4 towns that don't have libraries at all, they're regional, has a principal public library, and your directors or department head should be able to answer that question for you if you're not sure if that is your library and there's more than one public library, not including branches in your town. I also added that what we really want to say is there's no designated age group that needs to be served. It has come to my attention that if my face or name is attached to something, there is sort of an automatic assumption that it's for kids or teens. No, I kind of exist everywhere and nowhere at the same time. So my face is here and my name is next to stuff. And sometimes my name is first just because alphabetically last name, that's just how that works with Ashley and I. But do not let me and my existence here dissuade you if you work in adult services or you have something that you would like to do that primarily serves adult populations. And just for the record, that goes for my summer enrichment grant as well. I just exist in a lot of places. So like in this case, ignore that. Now, what is the GELS grant? So Ashley and I created this because we wanted to provide an opportunity to support libraries on their journey to providing equitable services in their community. And we recognize that sometimes funding and additional training is needed for that. And we know that additional funding can be in short supply. So whatever it is that we can do, we would like to do. So this is sort of our first steps towards doing that, aside from the training that we've already provided as a part of the GELS initiative. We want the services or programs that grow from this grant to align with the mission of the GELS initiative, which Ashley read out a couple slides ago, and with the needs or interests of marginalized community groups with whom the intended work is for. So we'll dive a little bit into some of the GELS grant goals, which should hopefully help to kind of illuminate what we mean by that. This is a 6-month initiative. So the grant period, which is on our GELS grant page, is from January, I guess technically 2nd, because it's January 1st, the day? No. January 2nd to the end of June something, whichever date I put on that page. So we do want this to be sort of expansive, and we want folks to have the opportunity to really dive into providing these services for marginalized or invisible groups within their community. A library can apply for up to $3,500. So if a library puts together an initiative or a program or service and realize they only need $2,500, that's fine. You can apply for $2,500. But you do get up to $3,500. And anyone who has applied for any past grants with us, primarily our summer enrichment grants, you do have to, if that is what you apply for, if that is what you are awarded, you do have to spend all of that to the last penny. Unfortunately, I had to chase some folks down for like 14 cents. So I'm really sorry. We're also at the mercy of IMLS. So that's just it. So sometimes a grant initiative might go a little bit beyond what they were awarded. So maybe when you do your budget, you realize that you need to spend $3,502. That's fine. That $2 can hopefully just come from your friends group or your library budget. This is going to be a pretty competitive grant because this is a 6-month grant, just sort of because of the spirit of what it is that we're trying to do here. The folks who are going to be reading through these grant applications are going to be reading really, really hard. So we're hoping to go over a little bit of what it is that we're looking for. So the GELS grant goals, these are actually listed in the instructions that are provided for you all. A little later, Ashley's going to take us through the LibGuides page so you all can see exactly what's there. We're not going to be able to go into every document because we all have stuff to do. But we did want to go over the GELS grant goals because we worked really hard on them. So they are to create and implement programs and or services that are trauma-informed, anti-racist, social, and emotionally conscious, because that is what we are doing the GELS initiative for, and these go hand in hand. Also, to design and provide programs and or services with and for marginalized and or underserved members of the community. So I did want to draw a big red mental circle around the word program. We are using IMLS's definition of what a program is, which I believe you can find on Barbara, our data coordinator's LibGuides page. They've got some specifications on what is considered a program versus what might be that other word we use that I forgot, initiative, activity. So just, we want folks to remain conscious of what a program is, and we are following that definition. And again, I want to draw a big mental red circle around the word "and" here. And for. So we don't want these programs to just be designed like on behalf, not and, I'm drawing a circle around with, you guys. I'm drawing the circle around the word with. I probably should have put an actual circle here, but I didn't do that. We really want to see equal collaboration between library and community. So what we're hoping is that our libraries work directly with the group it is that they are trying to provide a service for, which is a little bit different than providing a service on behalf of a group. The initiatives and projects that can come out when folks are working with each other as opposed to on behalf of another can be vastly different. Another one of our GELS grant goals is that our participants will provide CE/PD professional development and continuing education for staff members to better serve marginalized and or underserved members of the community and to apply the knowledge learned in those trainings. So that's a little bit twofold. Folks can use some of the funding here to provide specific targeted training for your staff members. And then once that's done, we need to see some action that was pulled directly from those trainings. The last goal of the GELS grant is to demonstrate integration of SJDEIA, social justice, diversity, inclusion, equity, and accessibility into daily work and approaches to library services. So folks who choose to go on the journey of applying for a GELS grant, we would like to see that grant initiative strive for multiple goals here. So that might be a program or initiative that strives to meet 2 of these goals, 3 of these goals, or all 4. We leave that up to the folks who are submitting the application. But these here, this is a snapshot of what it is that we hope to see a program or initiative doing within their grant application. So what do successful GEL grant applicants look like? Applications. So as I said before, we are hoping to see applications with programs, services, or initiatives that meet multiple goals that are listed. Oh my gosh, thank you, Barbara, here for the win. Definition of a program. So again, multiple goals. It could be 2, 3, 4. Live and let live. The decision is up to you. We hope to see a program or initiative that stays true to the spirit of the grant, and the spirit of this grant centers community and equity. We want to make sure that the idea that is presented, again, comes from that work with the community, as opposed to maybe an idea that's kind of already been floating around and now this really great opportunity kind of exists. We want to see some of that collaboration, and we really want to see sort of like the spirit of authenticity in these grant applications that we get. We hope to see work that builds upon partnerships that already exist. We're hoping that perhaps a library and a community partner have just been waiting for and searching for the opportunity to do something that maybe neither of those institutions were able to do before. So we really hope to see partnerships that already exist, and now we're just able to escalate them to another level. Within the grant, it's admittedly, I'm not going to lie, there's kind of a lot to this application here, and there are a lot of multi-part questions, and we want to see all of them answered. There are some questions that are going to require longer answers, especially if we're asking questions about what does your community look like? What does the funding structure in your community look like? Tell us, what's going on there. It's possible that more words are needed for that, but we're also looking for something succinct. We have to read through a lot of these applications, and sometimes more words are better, but sometimes more words just aren't really necessary for us to sort of get to the point of what it is that this application is hoping to do. So folks are going to have to make their own decisions for that, but sometimes it's better when something is short, sweet, and to the point. We hope to see, as we mentioned before, the library working with the community, which is a little bit different from working on behalf of the community. And I will say that some of our GELS workshops that have been recorded in that community section might be really helpful here. As a matter of fact, a lot of the videos that are already in that GELS section have the potential to really help you out here. Sort of bouncing back to questions being answered in full, there is going to be a question on this grant about how a program or initiative can be made accessible. And we have very strong feelings about what we hope to see in sections like that, and we've included that in the question. So if there is an activity that is going to be done, how can everyone equally, to the best of their ability, participate in the activity, which is a little bit different than how someone can physically get to this space, right? So that's sort of beyond an accessible building, which here in Connecticut is a big deal. It's an old state, but we're looking really hard and we're reading very deeply into everything that's asked here. We hope to see how libraries and library workers can embed previous professional development and continuing education into their GELS grant application. So are the folks at the library, have they been doing other trainings or workshops through Web Junction or through the state library or through Niche Academy, right? Like what additional trainings and knowledge does the library hold so that we can see a scaffolding of learning with this particular grant application? And we actually are going to ask for those. So we're going to ask what trainings has someone been through. The thing about equity work is that a base level of knowledge is really needed to do, right? So there's the sitting, the listening and learning, and a base level of that really needs to have existed before someone sits down and decides how they can put that into practice on behalf of X community member. So we'd really love to see what that those past trainings have been so that we can connect it to ultimately what it is that you're hoping to do. Oh, I added accessibility on its own. Yeah, we're going to look really, really, really hard at that question. If someone wants to do live action Candyland, which you can't, so I'm using that as an example because I don't think we're going to see any of that. But if someone wants to do live action Candyland, how can people with a multitude of abilities actually participate, like physically participate in the activity? That is what we are looking for. In our GELS LibGuides, that we did an entire section on how people with a multitude of ability can participate in very specific activities. We gave our presenters little scenarios in advance. So of course we couldn't give them a scenario on everything ever in the world that could possibly happen, but we're hoping that folks can extrapolate from that session. And we hope to see initiatives that are unique to the needs of the community, which sometimes means it's sort of the copy and paste, the sharing is caring, the we always borrow and lend model that is very ingrained into libraries. Sometimes that's not going to be possible because the needs of your community may be very unique. And that ties right back into working with the community, right? Let the folks in the community tell you what it is that they need, what it is that they want to see, and work together with them to build that to the best of your ability. Grant scoring. So as I mentioned before, this grant is competitive. There are I think 10 or 11 questions that are in the application, and we score each of them individually on a scale of 0 to 10. There are typically 3 of us who read through these grants. That's how it works with the summer enrichment grants. Everyone reads and scores individually, and we average the scores together, and then we have a conversation about them. So just keep sort of this rubric in mind. And again, it is recorded, so you'll actually be able to look at it as you are answering all of the questions in the grant application. So a 0 is basically it just wasn't answered at all. That's not to say that there aren't words there in this section, but sort of what was asked just really wasn't answered. If we give a score of 1 to 2, then that means that sort of the answer that was provided was pretty ambiguous, vague. Maybe it addressed like 50% of the question that was answered. But when we read it, we're kind of like, well, what is the thing though? Like, what's the thing that's going to happen, right? Like, we're not sure. We can't like sort of see the picture, right? If we give a 3 to a 4 on a question, then it's an adequate answer. It's relatively clear. You know, again, it sort of answers around 50% of the questions, but it's clearer than sort of that 1 to 2, that ambiguous, disjointed answer to our questions. Anything from a 5 to 7 is relatively proficient, pretty well organized, and is going to address at least 75% of the questions that are asked. And if we give anywhere from an 8 to a 10, then that means it's really well organized. It addresses all the criteria. It's really descriptive. It's really succinct, right? It's not super rambly, because again, sometimes more words aren't better. I say this being a chatty, more word patty person myself. So this is really hard for me. You can hear that from the way I'm talking to all of you right here. I am the example of the fact that like maybe don't do this on paper. Again, depends on the question. So this is sort of our scoring initiative. So we score every single question that you answer with this rubric, and then we also score with this rubric here the overall grant itself. So we score each individual question individually, and then we take a look back, look at the entire grant as a big picture, and we score that as well. And then we each application can score up to 100 points, and you know, we go from there. So there's a lot of like room to do here, right? So because this is the first time that we're offering this grant, we unfortunately cannot give you examples of other really good grant projects. They just don't exist. Ashley makes a joke of the fact that I tend to look at the evaluations the moment that a workshop is over, like the moment that people have had the opportunity to answer them, I am looking at the evaluations. And we see that there is a want and an appreciation for when very specific examples have been given about whatever the topic was that day. It just doesn't exist here. I'm so sorry. Next year, if we do this again, we will include examples of really great grants. But for this year, you all are the pioneers. So I'm so sorry we can't give them to you, but we can direct you to CT Pages, which is an initiative that Ashley and I have done in the past, where we have very short, like no more than 20 to 30 minute conversations with Connecticut library workers who have been doing really great and amazing programs, initiatives, and providing service. That's a really great place to look. We've broken it down by age and community and all that stuff. There we go with the link. Thank you, Ashley. CLC roundtables, folks have a lot of conversations in there. It's an opportunity for librarians to talk to librarians, library workers to talk to library workers. But then what I really want to stress, please just ask us. Please just ask us. If someone has an idea, and this has happened plenty of times, well, not plenty of times, but a fair amount of times with summer enrichment grants, someone will send me an email and say, hey, I have this idea. I'd love to talk to you about it, to apply for this grant. I'm beyond ecstatic to, well, schedule the phone call. We're all hybrid, so you can call if you want, and sometimes the phones don't work. You can call if you want to, but we might not be there to answer the phone. But once a phone call has been scheduled, we are absolutely happy to sit down and have a conversation, hear what your ideas are, and sort of bounce around some thoughts and ideas about how to make it a stronger application if those are needed. So please call us, email us, and then call us, and we're happy to have a conversation, because we also want folks to succeed. DLD is really interesting in the fact that librarians are our patrons. So the way you all have patrons, you all are our patrons. And the same way that you want your patrons to do nothing but succeed, we want librarians and libraries to do nothing but succeed. So give us a call me, beat me if you want to reach me. And we'd be happy to talk to you about that. So now Ashley's gonna hit the nitty-gritty.
Yay, more. All right, so applications and reports. As you might expect with any grant, there are these very important pieces. So some pointers on these aspects. So we strongly suggest reading everything, certainly before applying, and even perhaps before asking your very smart questions. We suggest reading everything. It's all there. We hope we've covered it all, but you know what? This is our first year, so it is possible we've missed something. So once you read it all, if you have a question, always call us. Or as Kim said, email us. So there are two reports, as you will see, as we go deeper into the LibGuide. There's both a midpoint and a final report, as this is a 6-month grant. We are very excited that there will be no emailing of applications or reports or all of the pieces. We have set up forms. We have a platform called LibWizard. And so we will be uploading all of this so that Kim and I can see it that way. We're hoping that this makes it a little bit simpler for all of us. As you will see, if you have not looked already, there are 2 instruction documents. We'll take a peek at one of those. There's one for the grant application and one also for the expenditures component. And again, we're going to look at the LibGuides to dive into all of this. So Kim is going to stop sharing. Bear with me as I get myself situated and move all the things around the screen. All right. Here we go. Are you good? Can you see? We are at the DLD homepage. This is hopefully already bookmarked in your browser or incredibly intimately familiar to you. So you will just scroll down here. You will find the Growing Equitable Library Services LibGuide, GELS. And over here on the left-hand side menu, you will see there's a GELS grant page. So this is what we're going to look at today. This first section, what is the GELS grant? This is going to cover a lot of the information that you've heard from us this afternoon, both about the GELS program and then kind of the sort of point of the GELS grant itself. Again, a little reminder to read all of the documents, please, please. Then we have important dates. So this is kind of the timeline for the whole thing. So here we are in August with the information session. The application window will open September 3rd, and the deadline for those applications is October 31st. So really, we will engage conversation with you at any point after this webinar if you've got questions as you start to look at everything. Grant awards will be announced on Monday, December 2nd. The grant period, as Kim mentioned earlier, is January 2nd, the first business day of 2025, all the way to June 30th, which I will always remember because it's my birthday. So an easy one for me. The midpoint report will do, as one might expect, right smack dab in the middle of those 6 months. So April 1st, which lands on a Tuesday in 2025. All of the grant funds must be fully expended by the end of the grant period. So again, that June 30th date. And then the final report will be due July 31st, so a month after that work has concluded. In the next section, we have the instructions. As we mentioned, there's 2. I am going to open one and then have to switch things around. Oh no, I can show you this one because it's a PDF. Can you see that okay? Yes, great. Okay, I don't know why it's opening in the middle of the document and being all strange and slow. There we go. So there's a lot of information here. You can see it's 9 pages. So some of that is some of the same information that's on that LibGuide, but we like information in lots of places so that it's kind of easily accessible for you as you're making your way through this process. So there's the overview, there's the requirements, there's the important dates again for you. There's those goals that Kim went over really deeply on that slide. So those are here for you in print as well. Information on the evaluation from the IMLS, those questions that we always have to have you ask. Information on outcome goals and impact are here for you. Accessibility, I know Kim talked lots about that. We do look at this deeply. We've tried to go into some details here for you to help you as you're thinking through that aspect of this work. And then let's see, project funding. We'll talk about that in a moment too, in terms of acknowledgements for this grant. Again, we cover the grant award amount and period, the budget, and some budget instructions here for you. Lots of pieces and details, award administration requirements as well. Expenditure report, of course, we do have that whole separate document on expenditure report instructions. And then some of that definition is right here for you too. I know Barbara dropped the link. Thank you, Barbara. And then submitting the application, which we will also go over to on the LibGuide. So that's the instructions. I realize I covered that at a high level, but just to give you a sense, we really are trying to give you everything you will need to successfully complete this application. So jumping back over to the LibGuide. In this next session, we have all of the applications and report documents. You see that these are all Word or Excel documents. However, they are not fully editable. They have all been formatted to be as forms, and so there are specific places where you're going to be entering your information. I'm going to show you a couple of them just so you can get a sense. And let me switch over to, did it open? Hang on one second. And I will show you the application. Maybe I will show you the application. All right. Here we go. So you will see there's lots of information here for you to fill out. Anywhere it has this sort of grayed text, the clicker tap here to enter text, that's where you can type. Any place else is not editable for you. These checkboxes are editable for you. You can mark those off. And all of the questions, lots of questions here with space for you. And then of course the project budget will be able to answer your information as well. We then do require you to print this document and actually have a wet signature applied to it. You will then hopefully be able to save it, upload it as a PDF, as we'll show you in the form, but you do need to print it to apply that signature. So I'm gonna go back over to the LibGuide. All right. So all of these, the midpoint report, final report, structured very similarly. You'll be able to do all of your questions that way. The expenditure report is an Excel document, similarly formatted, so that you can only enter information where you are supposed to. If you click on a cell and a box pops up that says, you can't change this, don't try changing it. Go over to a cell that you can change and add your information. So those pieces are all there for you in one handy spot. And then submitting the GELS grant applications, the midpoint and the final report. So as we said, we have this set up in LibWizard for you so that you'll be able to just upload all of this in one location, much easier. And we do ask that all of the files you're uploading follow this sort of naming convention. That's going to make it really easy on our end to keep everything clean and organized and not lose any of your materials, keep them all together for you. And these forms will be opened during the respective windows and then of course closed once we hit those due dates. So the materials do need to be submitted on time. So let's take a look at this grant application form. I'm actually going to show you all three of these because they're all a little bit different. Each piece of this does require some different information. Excuse me. So of course, this information at the top is going to be the same. This is again just your sort of name and email address and library. And then there's going to be space to upload different aspects of this. So here in the application one, of course, we need the application form as a PDF again, and then the budget document. So anything that supports the budget that you're proposing. So whether that's estimates or quotes or, Amazon receipts or links or whatnot, all of that can be uploaded. Save it all as one PDF for us and submit it that way. I feel like that application is actually the simplest uploading, at least. So taking a look at the midpoint report. Little by slowly, here you go. Again, that same sort of main information at the top for us. The midpoint report form, again, as a PDF. The expenditure report, again, that will please be saved in the original Excel format to upload here. And then any of those sort of supporting materials, so anything that's been spent to date can be submitted here again as a single PDF as you get those receipts and things. And then the final report. I feel like there's endless amounts of uploading that you can do here, but it's exciting and fun and gets to show us all of your work. So again, the main information for the primary contact is at the top. You will have space for the final report here. The expenditure report comes next. All of those receipts then through the whole grant period at this point can be uploaded here as a single PDF document. The survey report form can be uploaded here. That also is in that section with all those Word and Excel documents for you to download. And then we have space for additional supporting materials for the project. So maybe you want to include copies of newspaper write-ups or social media posts or flyers or whatnot. You could even include just a document with a bunch of links if you have a lot of things that you want to link to, you know, media coverage and things. That would be fine too. And then we do have a whole section just on photos. So if you have photo documentation of the work that you've done, you can include that in this section. Very important to note here, if you do include photos, we do need that IMLS photo release form. I will show you where that is. It's in the last section on the LibGuide that we haven't gotten to quite yet. So we do need that form. And then we have left you space to upload up to 3 images. So we love images. Please upload images for us. Images are pretty to look at. Words are good too, but everyone needs a picture every once in a while. All right, back to the LibGuide. So the last section, we have acknowledgements and images. We have put this funding language that we need to have you include on any sort of print things. If you're doing a speaking engagements, we love for you to say this out loud to acknowledge kind of where this opportunity came from. And then we have put, for the first time, we have put all of our logos here for easy access and easy download. You can see they're in a couple different formats and orientations here for you from the State Library. So hopefully that makes it easy for you to fit them into whatever it is that you're creating. And then we have a link here. This will bring you over to the IMLS page where they have their logos in kind of a similar setup so that you can download them in all sorts of ways. And then this is that IMLS photo release form that I mentioned that you will need to include if you do want to submit photo documentation to us. All right. So one important thing that I did miss, as you submit for all of those pieces up here, you will get an email confirmation that your submission has gone through. So that will be notice to you that we've gotten your thing and it is in our hands and not to worry. Okay, I think that's everything. I'm going to stop screen sharing. Try to anyway. There we go. And then at this point, I would welcome and open it up to any questions from you all that Kim and I can help answer.
Mm-hmm. We know we said read through everything before you ask questions, but like you're here with us now, so you can ask any questions that you might have. This is a new grant. If you had any thoughts or anything, then you are welcome to do that. And we're happy to answer them to the best of our ability. No questions is fine.
Totally fine.
Okay. Well, before I forget, what I will also just toss into the chat really quickly is that evaluation, which you have to do it and we have to do it. It is an IMLS requirement. So, you know, it will go out automatically within an hour. So you're going to get it again. But we like to drop it in the chat while we have folks right there in front of us. Thank you, Jen. And again, as always, if there are any questions, if something comes up, especially because this is the first time, and thank you to Kathy, especially because this is the first time, if someone's like, can you just tell me that this is okay to do? It's the first year. We absolutely get it. And we really hope to see some really great initiatives and ideas and support programs and support services for, you know, our community members who holistically tend to kind of, you know, fall by the wayside. And as library workers in public libraries, except for us, now we're here. You know, we're here. We're really excited to see, oh, Jen, okay. Oh, and that's right. I stripped you all of your unmuting ability. Okay. So you should be able to unmute now. Jen, if you would like to, we'd love to hear your question.
Thank you. I'll put this in the response form. Is there the potential that if not enough people take advantage of this, that it won't be offered in additional years? Or is that, and I may have missed that if you covered that.
We didn't cover it,
Okay.
and it is a fair concern.
Okay.
So there is a hierarchy above us as well. And also, I think the same with public libraries at the state level. Funding is going to funding. So we're lucky that we're in a position to be able to offer something like this right now. There may come a year where we don't have the money to do it. This does take a lot of energy and work and time. I can't tell you how long Ashley and I spent putting all of the instruction document alone, putting that together. So the same way that you all respond to the needs of your community, we do the same. So if we see that there's not much of an interest or a want or a need, then yeah, we might stop and pivot to something else because it seems like our librarians don't need this. So let's go figure out what they do need. Part of the reason why we are offering this is because when we were beginning to do our new strategic plan, which started in 2013, we did a series of group interviews. Some of you might have been a part of that. It was a while ago. I don't remember now. And what was asked for from us a lot centered around equity, funding for SJDEIA, training for SJDEIA.
Yeah.
This was directly created as a result of that need and that question, and that's why this exists. If it turns out that maybe folks didn't need this the way they thought they did, we're going to pivot and we're going to go to something else that was asked for from us. So it's a possibility.
So I think that I'm planning on putting in my response to this session, but also I do think just because it's a brand new platform, it's a brand new grant, so nobody's ever applied for it before, and all of our state reports are due a month earlier, and also in a different platform, which I don't like. This is very good, but I don't know if I'm going to have the bandwidth to apply for this, and I am very sad about that right now. So I'm going to try and see if I have the bandwidth, but it might just literally be that the timeline for this is not a good fit. And I'm going to put this in I'm going to put this in here, and I might actually send an email also saying that to both of you, being like, it's purely there are not enough hours in the day, because it's a very comprehensive, very clear application. And so I'm not saying, the feedback is not that you need to strip it down from me in particular. It's that that there just aren't, just this year, especially because you have like a crop of like baby library directors. So, and do you know what I mean? Like that's a consideration, 100%. But it's like but it's very, very cool. And I'm so excited that this is possible. And I think it's awesome. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really great feedback. And
it is
to the extent that it is within our power, the same way that we tell public libraries, like, just because someone didn't come to this one, like that doesn't mean that nobody wants it. To the extent that it's within our power, which again, sometimes boils down to budget. Yes, absolutely. Cynthia, I'd like to at least try it a couple times, right? It's the same with the summer enrichment grants. We see better grant applications, really creative every year that we do it. So as long as it's within our power, I'd like to say that we try to offer it another 2 or 3 times and see what happens, as long as the funding is available for us to do that. But I think that outlook is a really helpful and worthy one. And also, put it in print, because maybe, we might need it to say, no, let us try again. So thank you very much, Jen. Cynthia, we'd love to hear from you.
Hi, yes, I'm Cynthia Hagen in Memorial Library in East Haven. This is really, really exciting, and but I have a question about just the initiative itself. Is it something that we could focus on collaborating with one community group, or are you looking for something that's more broad? Like
Yes, it can and perhaps should focus on one group. An example that I'm going to give, one of our summer enrichment grants, so many S's. Which S was it? They did a workshop that targeted on a specific groups of adults with varying developmental needs. and built a program specifically targeting this group of Southington, this group, which was a partnership that they had already had. One of the things that we try to, the reason that GELS is what it is, right? The reason that it wasn't like 2 or 3 3-hour workshops is because different groups of people have different needs. And then there's, of course, monoliths within that, right? Like we know, for example, the LGBTQ community, all those letters mean something different, right? All of those letters are a different group of people. So if someone wanted to submit an application, even Portland has a very targeted application right now that is a part of the summer enrichment grant that Jen and her staff and their staff are doing. That absolutely is something that can be done. So if there's, for example, like a group that you've been working with that has X need, and this is sort of the need that you think that you have something that you want to create for, if this is an organization that you are wanting to work with, then that's absolutely fine. Sometimes trying to hit everyone and everyone's needs at one time has the potential to sort of like deplete the impact. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's absolutely fine. Yes, Jen, please share, because we think your program is great. I'm not done reading the whole final report, but I'm going to get there, hopefully before the end of tomorrow. But yes, and again, Cynthia, if you and your library are putting something together and you want to run some of the specifics by Ashley or I, we're very happy to sit down and listen to that.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Okay, and yeah, Jen just put their email in the chat. So if anyone is interested, Kathy, Cynthia, we think that Jen's program and the program at their library was really strong and appeared to have a really high impact on a group that had need. I think that's a really great place to start with kind of hearing what these projects could look like. Thank you for sharing, Kathy. So Jen, I'm going to give you a minute to maybe copy and paste that or sort of take that so that you all can touch base for this grant and beyond, quite frankly. You know, I think if that's it for the questions, thank you for coming and taking time to hear Ashley and I out. As we mentioned, this is our first time doing this grant, again, sort of as a reply to a need and a request that was made of us during our strategic planning process. We're really interested to see where it goes, what projects, initiatives, and services that people can put together. And we are here to answer your questions. Sometimes I'm bored. We also have reports due right now, and I don't want to do a single one of them. I do not want to write a single report. So if you would like to save me temporarily by scheduling a phone call or a Zoom, please do so. Do not hesitate, because I don't want to write any of that. It's also long. Important but long. So we feel your pain. Don't worry. We grumble, and by it's me. I grumble. But thank you all so much. Have a good rest of your day. It feels like fall outside. Walmart told me it's Halloween, so I'm really excited about it. Thank you, everyone, and have a really good rest of your day.